Hello again, YouTube friends. Dustin Bellinger here, and coming today to show you a major acquisition to the Hall of Fame collection. I've been pursuing cards from the playing days of all of the people that are inducted into the Hall of Fame as players and that played in the majors, so have cards available of them. And of that list of players, I have acquired really everyone through the modern era and through most of the what you call the golden age of baseball. And there was only one player whose career ended after 1920 that I did not have in my collection. At least one card from their playing days. And that one, somebody I'm sure you're all going to be familiar with. A Yankee legend in Lou Gehrig. You can see there, batting pose. This card was from 1929. Now, an interesting note on the card is that the catalog listed on it is a W553, which would be a normally the catalog designation for strip cards. And, these were assigned dang near 50 years ago. Some major pioneers in the hobby tried to create catalog indexes for all of the various issues that were known at the time, and catalog them all, and give information, to help out other collectors in identifying things and acquiring things and in their search, knowing what was available. But the thing was, at the time they were doing a lot of this by mail with a lot of limited information through correspondence. And not everybody had everything available to them. And so you would get, some descriptions of cards and maybe a picture or something sent. And, and when they were, creating the catalog, sometimes, you didn't always know where things had come from because, this, like a card, say from, the 20s here, it might have changed hands multiple times between, the time that it was, first manufactured until, this time when things were being cataloged. And, people may not have been up to date on where the origin of every card issued was. And there was a lot of knowledge in the hobby that just had holes in it, because things had been lost, because things hadn't been documented from earlier collectors. And that was one of the things they were trying to solve for. And so they started creating, catalog designations for all these cards and, creating, basically a master catalog that listed, all the various issues and their descriptions and information about them. Well, this was one of the cards that was cataloged that, unfortunately, they didn't really have much information about as far as its origin, and that they knew general time frame, but not really where it had come from. And so, an examination of the cards, they were blank backed and, not, great cardboard stock. So they resembled, cards that were a strip card that might have been hand cut. And who knows, maybe the examples that they had at the time, because there's only a few people that were working on this, they might have only had, a trimmed example of the card. So maybe they assumed it was hand cut. So, but in any regard, it was designated as a strip card and assumed to be hand cut. And that's just the way the designation stayed for a lot of years. And it wasn't until, several years later, and it's only been maybe half dozen, maybe 10 years ago, that there was actually an auction that had a bunch of unopened packs from the 20s and 30s in it. And in a lot of those packs were opened and the contents kind of examined, and it was discovered that this card and this series of issue of cards, they weren't strip cards. They were actually sold in packs from kind of a smaller, obscure kind of gum candy manufacturer, and made an attempt at distributing cards. And well, so the truth has come out that, hey, it's actually a gum card, but and they were blank back. This one's been gotten some significant scrapbook damage that's helped preserve it. And so, but the catalog designation and the information about it's really not going to get changed, because updating that catalog is kind of a slow process. But try and save that knowledge and keep the information going, because if somebody just looks at the designation and the flip on this and they assume that that's correct, they're like, oh, well, this was a strip card that was hand cut, and that's really not the case. But so there's a lot of information there about the card issue. I assume everybody knows about Lou Gehrig, so I don't have to spend a whole lot of time talking about him. But this was a big addition to the collection. I'd kind of targeted some things. I'd been paying off my old Judge card that I'd bought earlier in the year. So that was a pretty significant purchase, and this one again is as well. So I bought this in the Robert Edwards auction, and there were a number of Lou Gehrig cards in there that I thought could potentially kind of go in the price range that I was looking for. I put a watch on a couple of the 1934 Gowdy cards, but yeah, as expected, those went beyond what I was going to be willing to pay. There were this card, an actual strip card, a couple of there was two other strip card issues that were in there as well, and some cash-in cards that were in the auction. So I had about 5 different cards that I was actively kind of watching on and had kind of placeholder bids placed on, so that I would be able to, in extended bidding, I'd be able to target one of them. And this was by far the most rare card in that group of cards. The graded population of this card is about 20 cards or so. PSA might have 11 or 12, and I think SGC might have 8 or 9 of graded examples of these. This is, of course, one of the lowest graded examples, but hey, there are only a few of them out there, and it's like there's a fine line between rarity and scarcity and just being obscure. And once again, I'm on the obscure side here, so I was able to get this card, significantly cheaper than, some of his more well-known, more desirable issues. Although, it was one of the most rare pieces in the auction. So it's just, sometimes things can be so rare it get into that obscure state, and my collection has a lot of that sometimes in it, because things are rare. They're just you don't get a lot of people trying to chase it, And so it goes for prices that are much much less than things that are actually, easier to find and obtain in some cases. So that was the purchase, and gonna have to take some time to pay this one off as well. Although I made a mistake. I bid with Robert Edwards for the first time, and I just kind of assumed, I was thinking that I'd bought my old judge card from there. And actually that was a Huggins and Scott auction, now that I had time to reflect and look back. But, on that one I'd been able to use my PayPal credit account, 0 interest for 6 months, and just pay it off over the 6 months. And that's kind of what I plan to do for this card. Well, after I won the card and got my invoice, I discovered, they don't take PayPal. They don't take, a credit card or a debit card or anything. I've got to send them a check or, I could do some sort of money transfer. So I actually did, 2 Zelle payments because I had to split it into 2 payments because of, the daily limit for how much you can send a certain, any one individual in a day. So I had to send 2 payments to pay this off. Luckily, I had the funds in a savings account that had to kind of explain to the wife why I pulled out money. So that was fun conversation, but I'll have to be replacing those funds here over the next couple of months before I make any other major purchases. So this will be the last big one for a while. Then I'll be out on the hunt again looking for the next Hall of Famer that I don't have. I am down to 30 Hall of Famers that I do not have cards from their playing days in my collection. All of them, their careers ended after 1917, was the last year any of them played in the majors. So getting to the point where, they're all difficult to obtain and, rather expensive. But going to be trying to make progress, going to try and get maybe 2 of those over the next year. For 2021, that'll be kind of the goal, is 2 new Hall of Famers. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for listening, and I'll be talking to you guys again later. Bye now.